And then, as a complete contrast to that, there was a guy called Wilson, I don't remember his first name, living in Northern Ireland in Enniskillen, a bomb that went off at the Remembrance Parade in Northern Ireland. I think, was it 15 years ago now, I suppose, or more. And he came on TV a couple of days after the bomb, and he said, "What do you think about the men who planted that bomb that killed your daughter?" And he said, "I forgive those men." And I really felt that this was genuine, that he really had, let go of any thoughts of, hatred towards these men. Obviously, he was distraught about the loss of his daughter, and was not to diminish that, not diminish the loss, but he was determined not to hang on to any thoughts of hatred or revenge. Revenge feels so much of trouble in the world today. I think actually another example I will throw in is Nelson Mandela. And he's had every reason to feel resentful about the 26 years that he was in jail, but I've never sensed any ounce of resentment in him, and I think that's how he's gone on to be the icon that he is.
I think that's why people are so moved by his story.
No, I've never had anyone killed or anything like that, but I've had lots of lesser. They're significant to me.
Learning opportunities.
Learning
opportunities.
Exactly. Okay, one good example was there was a group I used to go to, and there was a guy there who, again, this is maybe slightly controversial, but he shared with the group one day that he was quite addicted to child pornography on the internet. And he shared a little bit about this, but I didn't think too much about it at the time. But it was only afterwards there was something I read about the effects on the children who get caught up in this in that business, and then I just felt this sense of rage towards this guy in our group. This total, I just thought he was the most despicable person on the planet, and everyone else involved in it was too. And I phoned him one day. I said, "Look, I've really got to speak to you about this, and I really need to work through what this has brought up for me." So actually, I got together with him, and we went through this little forgiveness process. Well, it was quite a big deal at the time.
It's a courageous thing as well to voice your truth to someone like that.
It was very, very powerful. I would like to think it was very healing for him too. But I went through the whole process of letting go of the anger that I was feeling, and seeing him eventually, at the end of the process, seeing him as innocent, despite what he'd done, but seeing him as someone who was doing his best, who was struggling, and all the rest of it. And I have to say, I've never had a single thought of a grievance against him. Never a single thought of disgust and all the stuff I was feeling before. It's just in one 20-minute exchange, it was completely gone.
And the interesting thing as well that I think about this is that if you're having that level of reaction, ultimately somehow that's your reaction to it. Whatever he's doing, but something inside of you is being triggered by that, and it's the willingness and the ability to own that, and to be able to be able to work through it in that way.
Well, there's a great line in the course that says we're never upset for the reason we think, and we think, oh, so and so's done whatever it is they've done, and that's the reason I'm feeling upset. But actually, no, it's because it's triggered something in me.
And it would have been very easy in that situation to kind of stay on the moral high ground of, well, obviously I'm right and he's wrong, and wars get started over this kind of stuff. I mean, on a macro level, the impact of that, seeing all negativity outside of ourselves and having to fix it in the outside world, it can cause so much destruction in the world.
I think what that did to me with that guy in our group, not that I'm into the same kind of stuff that he's into, but I think all of us have the potential to abuse in some way, abuse others in some way or another.
Even if it's in very subtle ways. We all have our stuff that we do.
Yeah, and I recognised that I had that potential. So in forgiving him, I was forgiving myself of those beliefs I had about myself.
So I'm also curious, if we've got a couple of minutes left, I'm curious as to with where the journey you've had to where you are and where you see yourself going in the future with this, because it sounds like it's become a central ingredient, for want of a better word,
Yeah.
to your happiness and your life.
Yeah. The greatest thing for me is to be of service to people. That really feeds me. So that's what I see that I'm going to continue to do. And I don't know what that's going to look like necessarily. I mean, I could sit down, if somebody wants me to do a 1-year plan and a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan, and actually I don't know how to begin to do that. Because all the way along I've just taken the next step. What's presented, what seems to be the step to take now. Oh, well, that's it. I'm being called to do that. I've been called to do this interview. I didn't plan to come and do this. I was invited. So, I don't know how the next year or 2 years, or 4 or 5 years or 10 years is going to look. Other than just to continue to be of service.
Well, it sounds
way.
like also a big part of the turning point in your whole journey was this finding of an inner guidance and a willingness to trust it and to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, going from how I thought my life should be, that it should be that I should have this money and these travel opportunities and all this stuff around me and these parties we talked about, to being led. And again, that's a huge part of the course. Actually, is training us to get in touch with that part of our mind that's open to guidance.
Yeah.
And I'm working on that.
Great. That's great. Well, thank you, Ian, for your time today. And also, through Ian's organisation, there's every 2 months there's a magazine which is published, which is the Miracle Worker. There's also the Miracle Cafe, which is a monthly, I believe, event where there's speakers and discussions and kind of a social kind of side as well. So do check that out, and thank you for watching Conscious TV, and hopefully we'll speak to you again soon.